And good morning, everyone. I'm joined by Mr. T again here this morning.
Morning, everybody.
And we are on day 4 of the the House of Representatives, Speaker of the House. And so doing some rebroadcast, and we'll have some commentary here and there on it as well. But the House is currently yicking and yakking, so thought we'd jump in here. Yeah, looks like they're trying to establish a quorum at the moment. So I'll cut over there and then I'll be back to join you in just a few minutes. So this is a pretty special day, and this day is not just day 4 of the House trying to select a speaker. This is also the day in which the Brunson brothers case is to go into conference at the Supreme Court. Now, we have had several individuals who have been saying that there's a crowd outside of the Supreme Court right now, but we don't have any live video of that at the moment that I can tap into. But we will not hear a result of what happens at the Supreme Court today. That will be on Monday. Looks like we're getting ready. The House clerk.
The tellers will please come forward and take their seats.
So this process has shown us a lot of people that we thought we knew with with our friends at Fox and with individuals that used to be in the House are kind of showing their true colors, laying along the narrative of the process that's occurring here is sabotage or an insurrection. Now, those words came out of the Fox and Friends hosts yesterday morning, Brian Kilmeade and Steve, and I forget the other individual's name. It's been so long. Let's go back and see what she said.
Gentleman from California, rise.
Madam Clerk, I rise to nominate Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House.
Oh, we'll see what they negotiated last night. You get to hear the actions here. You see him bobbing his head and smiling.
While I rise to that end, I think it's critically important to note that this is actually not about Kevin McCarthy. Kevin is a good man. He's a man of God. He's a patriot. He's a leader who has led this conference to our current majority over the last 4 years. Those things are unassailable.
He's also taking money from the big donors.
This isn't about Kevin McCarthy. I put no single human being on a pedestal, certainly not before God and not before the gift that he has blessed us with this grand experiment that we call the United States of America. This isn't about Kevin McCarthy, but the matters before us are of stupendous magnitude. A federal republic such as ours, it's a dynamically unstable one. It's a wobbly top that's just a few mere revolutions away from falling down at any given moment, except for the exertions of men and women who are willing to serve her with pure and selfless intent, just as our founding fathers did, just as Abraham Lincoln and Ronald Reagan did with pure and selfless intent. And as our nation today and over the last 2 years has seen, we are certainly a wobbly top. Today we have a southern border that is wide open. As a result of that, and as a result of our executive branch policies, today 200 fellow Americans will die of fentanyl poisoning, and roughly 5,000 illegal immigrants will be victims of human smuggling. Today, our nation's debt is $31 trillion, and that will go up, just in this day alone, by roughly $2.1 billion. Today, we are seeing one of the worst crime spikes in our nation's history. Our law enforcement are direly underfunded, and they are hurting. And on that topic, I want to thank our law enforcement. I want to especially thank the Capitol Hill Police for what they do. We thank them not only for what they've done, our police also serve with that pure and selfless intent. They do it every day. We should thank them every day. Today, the Chinese Communist Party will orchestrate the theft of another $1 billion of intellectual property from American companies. And the Chinese Communist Party is still today not being held accountable for the deaths of millions of people around this planet, deaths as a result of a genocide within their borders, and deaths as a result of COVID outside them.
And to think, these people cannot be blind. Individuals like Mike Garcia cannot be blind to what's happening, the payoffs that are going on in Washington, D.C.
Without closure and without accountability after the unnecessarily loss.
And Kevin McCarthy is right in the muck of it all.
And today, speaking of our military,
and we cannot have Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House.
Veterans of our military will commit suicide.
Everything he says is true. This is what's happening. That does not mean that Kevin McCarthy needs to be at the helm in the Speaker's chair. He can still be the leader of the majority.
It's about the 246 years of pride and providence we have enjoyed as a nation. And above all things,
Patty, you're right.
That this beautiful journey
if we know, they know.
That doesn't happen if we don't address and rise above the multiple existential crises that we experience today. We must be victorious in this cause, and victory begins with allowing this body to get to work. It begins today. Now, winning isn't easy. Okay?
So they supposedly met last night and came up with a deal.
And of all folks in this
we'll
chamber,
see.
I know that winning isn't easy. I represent a district where only 29% of my voters are registered.
If we diminish on the 20 or the 21, it's 20 plus 1 who is present.
Because it's the only way that we all win. And in the end, it's the only way
Sparks
that
from
the nation
Indiana
wins. It ain't easy, but it's necessary. But the noble wins, the most important wins, never are easy. When we take on these missions just as passionately as Colonel Chamberlain did at Little Round Top in Gettysburg, we must hold this line, because if we don't hold this line,
We saw a lot of Democrats coming across the aisle
we don't
at
hold
the
the
close of
majority
yesterday.
to bragging rights. We hold the majority
And
to govern responsibly. We hold the majority to protect the American
Jeffries
people, to
also
coalesce
cannot be
around the
speaker.
foundational
Not with
constitutional
212.
principles that I've been willing to give my life to
And there's
defend
those
since
that have been
the age
saying,
of
well,
18.
they can change it so that
To my Democrat colleagues across the aisle,
they can
make
lower the bar.
Make no mistake. We are, in fact,
So,
on the verge
we had in
of a very important victory.
1923,
A victory for the people.
we had a 9-day, not 9 days, but 9 ballots
for the future of our nation.
were cast for the speaker in
And it dawns on me
1923.
as I look across the
Now,
aisle
there's
after being here
individuals
for
that are out there
33
saying,
years, and I
well,
haven't had the pleasure
they'll lower the bar and
meeting
Jeffries
many
will
of you
become,
because you've chosen to stay
it'll
home
work
and
on the
not
simple majority
vote
instead of
here
the
in person and
218.
selecting instead
Um,
the proxy vote.
that has to be voted on. That has to be a motion on the floor. They just can't say, well, we're going to lower the bar to do a simple majority vote,
Well,
and 212 with Jeffries
pleasure
would
to see
do it because
212
McCarthy
of you
can't
here
even get
today.
above 212.
It's also a pleasure to see the end of the proxy voting. And let me end with this. I'm extremely proud of my colleagues on this side of the aisle. The last 4 days, they haven't been ideal. They've been difficult. But I do see fighters. I see patriots who love this country and want to make things better. I see folks who are willing to do whatever is necessary to ensure that we better serve the nation. I see men and women who are willing to serve her with that pure and selfless intent, even if that service means undergoing the dentistry that we've experienced over the last 4 days and in the wake of the last 20 meetings over the last 2 months. Let me be clear, these are not concessions to the rules. These are critical evolution of the rules for the good of the nation. And I'm proud that we as a party have decided and been willing to extend the time aperture so that we can get to a solution, a product of compromise, but also a product that will fix the ills induced by the Democrat majority over the last 4 years. And this product will hopefully end the multifaceted legacy of reckless, toxic behavior in the swamp. And so this isn't about Kevin McCarthy. It's not about the 434 members in this chamber. It's about the 330 million Americans across this beautiful land. And it's about our nation's future. The person who will lead us on that journey will be Kevin McCarthy. He has earned this position, and I have
no, he has not. I disagree with those words.
As a Speaker of the House,
nobody earns the position of Speaker just because they have been in a leadership position in the House. That's not a position earned by anything but trust.
For what purpose does the gentleman from South Carolina rise?
Madam Clerk, I rise to nominate my friend, colleague, and leader, the House Democratic Caucus.
So the Jeffries side, the Democrat side, I'm muting that out just because what they bring to the comments is always the same. And it's not going to move the needle. So, but no, you don't earn Speaker of the House just because you've sat in a leadership position in the House for some period of time. You don't earn that. And, you may have time in a leadership position in the House, but that doesn't mean that by automatic proxy, you are automatically, or you earn the Speaker of the House position. You don't. If you're a representative of the people, you're doing your job, you're a leader. Oh, thank you, Lou. I appreciate that. Lou Maldonado. This is really deep. We must change. We must have change in the United States, in the federal government. You know, when 56 fine gentlemen sat down in Independence Hall in Philadelphia and they pounded out the Constitution of the United States, they tried to think of everything, but there were things that they missed. They missed term limits, for instance. And back then it was hard to conceive that people would make careers out of a position in the House. This is why they came up with an Article 1 of the Constitution. They came up with 2-year limits for representatives and 6-year limits for senators. They're supposed to be the adults, they're supposed to be the higher house of Congress. And they couldn't conceive the fact that there are people like a Nancy Pelosi that are going to be, 40 years plus in the House, that was designed to have representatives from the districts in which they represent, that are not just lawyers and doctors, but average, everyday people. And that's the spirit of how Article 1 in the House of Representatives was designed. They have so far exited that spirit of the meaning over the decades that people have forgotten. And if you look at how the tribes teach their young, they teach by storytelling, they teach by passing it on generation over generation. And as Americans, we haven't done that. We haven't done that in mass. We're supposed to educate our children as to what this is, the civics. But we haven't done that. We've allowed that same government, of which we are supposed to control in a republic. The pure definition of republic is that it is a government run by the people and not people run by the government. We have allowed this to happen. Shame on us. We have allowed this to happen for decades. What we are seeing here today could very well be the beginning of a way to set the record straight. These 20 individuals are true patriots. These 20 individuals are very much like that of the 56 fine individuals that created the Constitution. Imagine that for just a moment. This entire country that you and I grew up in, this entire way of thinking, this entire way of living was put together by just 56 people. And it's going to take 20 people to start to get it together and repair and heal. But it's going to take millions of us to make sure it happens. If you haven't done so already, get on the phone, contact your representatives, and say, we don't want McCarthy. Tell him to stand down. We don't know who we want yet. And it could very well be. I mean, we tossed out names. I personally believe that, that Lauren Boebert would make a good speaker. But we can bring some names from the outside in and say, the speaker position is not a representation of any district. It is a management position, and it's also our third in line of succession for president. So this person needs to be able to manage, not just represent. We'll go back over here now.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida rise?
To submit a name for nomination for the position of Speaker of the House.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My colleague from California, Mr. Garcia, knows the incredibly high regard I hold him in. He is a patriot. I deeply, deeply admire him, but I must take some exception with some of the comments he made in his nomination, Mr. McCarthy. First, he said that Mr. McCarthy has earned the position.
Here we go.
You only earn the position of Speaker of the House if you can get the votes. Mr. McCarthy doesn't have the votes today. He will not have the votes tomorrow, and he will not have the votes next week, next month, next year. And so one must wonder, Madam Clerk, is this an exercise in vanity for someone who has done the math, taken the counts, and is putting this institution through something that absolutely is avoidable? My colleague, Mr. Garcia, did not say this, but many of my other Republican colleagues have. They believe that Mr. McCarthy has earned the position of Speaker of the House because he raised $500 million to get Republicans elected.
Who is this?
The gentleman is not recognized.
Who was that?
Members are reminded not to engage in personalities against other members of the House.
That's right. Put him
Several
on
believe
notice.
that one earns the position of Speaker by raising enormous
Another
sums of
swamp
money.
rat.
There is no doubt that the individual that was nominated by Mr. Garcia is the LeBron James of special interest fundraising in this town. There is nobody better, but I would suggest that there are qualifications for Speaker that are far more important. There are attributes that are far more important. Jim Jordan has those, and I am submitting his name for nomination at this time.
There they go with Jim
I heard
again.
My colleague from California, Mr. Garcia, say that we seek pure, selfless intent, and I could not agree more.
I
with that
agree
assessment.
with Jim
Mr.
Jordan, but
indeed is
if he's
reflective
not
of pure,
in it.
selfless intent. I don't know that the same can be said.
He would be
for
a good
Republican
speaker.
alternative. Let's start with purity.
if McCarthy
Many of you
doesn't
have
endorse
seen
Jim
the
Jordan, he
reports
will
that
not
there
be
are
Speaker of the House.
negotiations to determine
Because
whether or
the
not
people
on this side of
following
the aisle there can be a deal.
following
Meeting
McCarthy
of the minds.
are
Grand
going to
bargain
stick
would
to
allow us
McCarthy
to
until
proceed with the
McCarthy
speakership. I want all of my
acknowledges
colleagues to
that
know,
it can't happen.
regardless of your perspective on me, how
Stay out of that blind.
impure some
My
of those
cat, sorry.
negotiations have gone. And I want the country to know.
Don't you
The
talk back.
principal goal
Don't you
of the
talk
people
back
who
to
are
me.
objecting to Mr. McCarthy on the Republican side
Don't tell me no.
is that
Come
we
on.
don't believe the rules
Get
of
out.
this place unlock the potential of all of the members to be able to pass
trying to get to the
votes
Venetian
on
blinds.
individual bills and to offer amendments on appropriations acts. And we're also concerned about spending.
No.
It has ballooned our debt
No.
and borrowed against
No.
the future generations of American citizens. And Mr. McCarthy
Be right
said,
back.
for goodness to the objectors, why do you want to be on the Oversight and Judiciary Committee and you never submit your name to be on the Rules Committee or the Appropriations Committee? And so, gosh, you'll get a list of folks who are willing to come early on fly-in days for rules and folks who are willing to take on the extra burden of our appropriators who work so hard, then I'll certainly work to do that. And so we endeavored in good faith and pure good faith to create that list. And then what did Mr. McCarthy do? He went out to the media and came to other members of the conference and said, see, they just want jobs for themselves. That is not pure. Selflessness. Selflessness is not selling shares of yourself to the lobby corps and then doing their bidding at the expense of the American people. But there certainly is intent. And it's an intent driven almost exclusively by personal ambition. And that ambition is paralyzing the House now. Madam Clerk, at this time, there is great trust in Mr. Jordan, and that's why I am nominating him. And there is insufficient trust in Kevin McCarthy. There are some who have been objecting to Mr. McCarthy who are working on perhaps changes to the rules, changes to circumstance that would convert the speakership from the great, awesome, powerful position it is now to more of a ceremonial position, almost akin to the Speaker in the British House of Commons, I referred to it previously as a straitjacket that some of us were trying to construct with better rules and better personnel because we do not trust Mr. McCarthy with power, because we know who he will use it for, and we are concerned it will not be for the American people. We trust Jim Jordan. I nominate him, and I'm going to vote for him.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Colorado rise?
Madam Clerk, I rise to enter a name for nomination for Speaker.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Once again, I just stand here today to nominate Kevin Hearn, the chairman of the Republican Study Committee.
Okay, we're going through the same thing as yesterday. Sorry about that.
Conference, who unanimously was elected as chairman, whom I believe can unite this Republican conference and put forward the agenda that we all promise to work hard on and serve our American people to the best of our abilities with. I believe that Kevin Hearn will be a fighter for our national debt. I get texts on a regular basis at how inflation is hurting families, how grocery prices are skyrocketing continuously. He has crafted a budget that balances and
I
will
like the
bring
question,
us to the
honorable
floor to
man,
help the American people.
but that's not
Madam
one that we
Clerk,
want to
I
dive
nominate
into today.
Kevin Hearn as Speaker. Thank you.
The reading clerk will call the roll.
When they're coming up with different names between Gates and Boebert, what that tells you is they don't have a real name to push forward. They're just saying no to McCarthy. This stalemate is not going to be broken until McCarthy steps down from running for Speaker. And this is going to be a very, very difficult time because he's already moved into the Speaker's office. The arrogance of this man. This tells you something. When they already move into the office, they think that they're going to get it, period, no matter what.
McCarthy.
So now he'll be embarrassed. He will be shut down for as long as it takes for these 20 individuals. And I'm hoping it stays 20 today, 20 plus. I want to see it grow. I want to see people that are supporting McCarthy flip the switch and say, you know what, enough's enough. You know, I've been supporting the man, but there's a lot of reasons why we cannot do this. And step up.
McCarthy. Valent. Jeffries. Banks. McCarthy. Barr. McCarthy. Benagan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. McCarthy. Beatty. Jeffries. Bentz. McCarthy. Barra. Jeffries. Bergman. McCarthy. Fire.
We're going to try and keep an eye on what's going on at the Supreme Court.
Vice. McCarthy. Biggs. Jordan.
So I'm going to attempt to move one of my other programs, my other programs around here so that I can work with it.
Bishop of Georgia. Jeffries. Bishop of North Carolina. McCarthy.
Who just walked in? What did I miss? I was working on a program over here.
Blumenauer. Jeffries.
You need to hold their
Blunt
ground.
Rochester. Jeffries. Bogert.
Dan Bishop, North Carolina,
Kern.
switched to McCarthy. That's what Joe said.
Bonamici. Jeffries. Bost. McCarthy. Bowman. Jeffries. Boyle, Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Rakeen. McCarthy.
See, what they're doing right now. These are McCarthy supporters that are going to start getting up
Brown.
with every one of their
Jeffries.
folks that do that little
Browning.
bluster and give them this big round of
Jeffries.
applause to try and
Buchanan.
intimidate those 20 individuals that are fighting.
McCarthy.
These are people to watch when they're getting up there and being all bolstery, all blustery, excuse me. These are the people that we have to watch out for.
Bouchon.
It's one thing that
McCarthy.
we are definitely seeing through this
But
process
empty.
is who not to trust.
Jeffries. Burchett. Burchett. Burgess. McCarthy. Burleson. McCarthy. Bush. Jeffries. Calvert. McCarthy. Kemick. McCarthy. Caraveo.
It's a lot of people out in front of the Supreme
Jeffries.
Court right now.
Carbajal. Jeffries. Cardenas.
Groups
Jeffries.
out there called Justice for 2020.
McCarthy. Carl. McCarthy. Carson.
Josh Brees,
Jeffries.
Oklahoma, switched from Kern to McCarthy.
Carter of Georgia.
So we've had one of the 20 has hopped back to the McCarthy
Carter of
bandwagon.
Louisiana.
Sounds like two of them. according to
Jeffries. Carter of Texas.
Joe.
Two of them, Dan Bishop and Josh
McCarthy.
Brecken.
Cartwright.
Brecken
Jeffries.
have switched back to
Kassar.
McCarthy. So that's 2 down on the 20. It still won't
Kassar.
get him anywhere. So that could mean that there's an intimidation
Jeffries.
campaign going on from the McCarthy
Caston.
team. We know that Rogers
Jeffries.
has been going around
Castro of
threatening
Florida.
House members.
Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Chavez de Reamer. McCarthy. Sheriff McCormick. Jeffries. Chu. Jeffries. Cicilline. Jeffries. Ciscomani. McCarthy. Clark of Massachusetts. Jeffries. Clark of New York. Jeffries. Cleaver. Jeffries. Klein. McCarthy. Cloud. McCarthy.
Yeah, they're trying to intimidate the 20, now 18.
I say
That might be the third one that moved over.
Clyburn. Jeffries.
That's what they're doing.
Clyde.
As people move over,
might be enough. Just give them a round.
they give them a round of applause for coming back to the main team. There's 4. You feel like an ass yet?
Cohen.
Crazy.
Jeffries. Cole. McCarthy. Collins. McCarthy. Comer.
Makes you wonder if they've been compromised.
Yep.
Connolly.
What were they promised?
Yeah.
Jeffries.
What were they promised
Correa.
by McCarthy to
Jeffries.
flip their vote?
Costa. Jeffries.
I don't know that you're going to have,
Jeffries. Craig.
once the 7,
Jeffries.
you keep it at
Crane.
7, and that's where it's at.
Hearn. Crawford. McCarthy. Crenshaw. McCarthy. Crockett.
Bell pretty much told him he just needs to go back to
Jeffries.
too.
Crow. Jeffries. Cuellar. Jeffries. Curtis. McCarthy. Davis of Kansas. Jeffries. Davidson. McCarthy. Davis of Illinois. Jeffries. Davis of North Carolina. Jeffries.
So is P6 out in front of the
Dean,
Capitol or in
Pennsylvania.
front of the Supreme Court?
Jeffries.
It's probably out in front of the Supreme Court. There's a
Daggett.
good amount of
Jeffries.
folks there.
De La Cruz. McCarthy. DeLauro. Jeffries. Del Bene. Jeffries. DeLuzio. Jeffries. DeSagne. Jeffries. Desjardins. McCarthy. D'Esposito. McCarthy. Diaz-Balart. Diaz-Balart. Dingle. Jeffries. Doggett. Jeffries. Donalds. McCarthy.
McCarthy.
Oh, that's a bad move. And then he immediately turns and runs.
Duarte.
These people are showing themselves to you. When they're doing this,
Duncan.
they're showing that they can be bought.
McCarthy. Dunn of Florida.
They got to them,
McCarthy.
and they caved.
Edwards.
They
McCarthy.
caved.
Elzy. McCarthy. Emmer. McCarthy. Escobar.
So
Jeffries.
Dan Bishop, Josh
Eshoo.
Basheen, I think it's pronounced,
Jeffries.
Michael Cloud,
Esbayat.
Andrew Clyde, and
Jeffries.
Byron Donalds.
Estes.
5.
McCarthy. Evans. Jeffries. Ezel. McCarthy. Fallon. McCarthy. Feenstra. McCarthy. Ferguson. McCarthy. Finstad. McCarthy. Fishbach. McCarthy. Fitzgerald. McCarthy. Fitzpatrick. McCarthy. Fleischman. McCarthy. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. McCarthy. Foster. Jeffries. Fushi. Jeffries. Fox. McCarthy. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. C. Scott Franklin. McCarthy. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. McCarthy. Fulcher. McCarthy.
Yeah,
Gates.
they're sellouts.
Jordan. Gallagher, McCarthy, Gallego, Jeffries, Garamendi, Jeffries, Garbarino, McCarthy, Mike Garcia, McCarthy, Robert Garcia, Jeffries, Garcia of Illinois, Jeffries, Garcia of Texas,
And I just lost all respect for Donald.
Jeffries,
I thought he was stronger than that.
Jimenez,
But the fact is that he was acting strange yesterday.
Golden
he
of
missed
Maine,
almost every main
He missed almost every main
Jeffries.
vote the first time through. Yeah. So they've been
Goldman of New
they've been-
York,
been hounding him.
sitting there in his ear. You know, you're 2 years
Goldman
in, buddy.
of New York,
You've got to do this our way, or you're just out.
Gomez, Jeffries, Tony Gonzalez, McCarthy, Vicente Gonzalez,
No, Jerry, it's not good.
Good of
But-
Virginia, Jordan,
The number is
Gooden
7.
of Texas,
If you lose all but 7, you still
Gosar.
have a fight.
Gosar, Gottheimer,
Gosar must be in a meeting.
Granger, McCarthy,
They did get to Donald's.
Grays of Louisiana,
They got to him. They got to all 5 of these
McCarthy.
guys. They
Grays
scared
of
him
Missouri,
somehow.
McCarthy,
This is what we're fighting.
Green of Tennessee,
This is exactly what we're fighting. This is the kind of corruption that we are fighting.
Green of Texas,
And they say that everyone has their breaking point. But you've got to go to Gates, you've got to go to Boebert and Biggs and Roy, and you have to realize that these people, here we go with that
Jeffries,
dude again.
Green of Georgia,
See, they're saying now he doesn't have a
McCarthy.
5 votes.
Griffith, McCarthy, Grijalva,
With 5, that must mean that we've got
Jeffries. Grothman,
you've got 2 individuals that are out, I think.
McCarthy,
So 5.
Guest, McCarthy, Guthrie, McCarthy, Hageman, McCarthy,
Yeah, they've got 2 of those 5.
Carter,
They got to 'em.
California,
Yeah.
Jeffries,
They found
Harris.
they couldn't pass up.
Jordan,
They either made him a deal that they couldn't pass up,
Harshbarger, McCarthy,
or they got to him with threats,
Hayes,
or a combination of both.
Jeffries, Hearn, McCarthy,
Richard Citizens, paid journalist, is
Louisiana.
also down at the Supreme Court.
McCarthy, Higgins of New York, Jeffries, Hill, McCarthy, Hines, Jeffries, Henson, McCarthy, Horsford, Jeffries, Houchin, McCarthy, Houlihan,
There appears to be a little bit more decorum going on in there
Hoyer.
today
Jeffries,
than we saw yesterday.
Hoyle of Oregon, Jeffries, Hudson, McCarthy,
Honorable man, you almost have to say, if somebody walked up to him and said, you know, you would look good in that boat down there off the coast of
Huizinga.
Florida. You know what to do.
McCarthy, Hunt, Hunt, Isa, McCarthy, Ivy, Jeffries, Jackson
He
of
doesn't have the
Illinois.
votes still. And even though they've managed to switch up 5, they're not going to
Jackson
get
of North
the
Carolina.
rest. Or they may get a few more, but they're not going to get all of them.
Jackson of Texas. Jackson of Texas. McCarthy. Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs. Jeffries. James. McCarthy. Jayapal. Jeffries.
So we know what the deals in the works meant.
Jeffries. Jeffries.
They were going and threatening and getting to try and chisel away at the 20.
Johnson of
And then they're going to
Georgia.
use that as
Jeffries.
food for the press.
Johnson
See?
of Louisiana.
These people, these insurrectionists are losing ground.
Johnson of Ohio.
This is always what they do. And they always make it look like they have a big win, but they still have a loss. But they try to say, well, we didn't lose as bad. The very fact that you've already had 11 losses is huge in itself.
Joyce of Pennsylvania. McCarthy.
12 at this moment,
Kim
yes.
Dove. Jeffries. Captor. Jeffries. Kane of New Jersey. McCarthy. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries.
It does take it out of you, right?
Kelly of Mississippi. McCarthy.
Well, at the
Kelly
moment,
of
it looks like
Pennsylvania.
5 have folded,
McCarthy.
not 12. Maybe
Hanna.
6.
Jeffries. Kiggins of Virginia. McCarthy. Kildee. Jeffries. Kylie. McCarthy. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim
Get
of
on the
California.
phones. If any of those 5 individuals
McCarthy.
are your representative elects,
Kim of New Jersey.
call them now.
Jeffries.
Call them now,
Krishnamurti.
beat them up, and let them know that
Custer.
you do not support this move.
Jeffries. Kustoff. McCarthy. LaHood. McCarthy.
What do you mean, honorable man? The insurrection actually, if you're saying that
LaMotta.
the McCarthy side of it is like an insurrection, yeah, I guess I could see that.
LaMalfa.
But
McCarthy.
this is what
Lamborn.
we're supposed to do.
McCarthy. Landsman. Jeffries. Langworthy. McCarthy. Larson of Washington. Jeffries. Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries. Latta. McCarthy. LaTurner. McCarthy. Lawler.
The Honorable Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. Lee of California. Jeffries. Lee of Florida. McCarthy. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Ledger Fernandez. Ledger Fernandez. Lesko. McCarthy. Letlow. McCarthy. Levin. Jeffries. Lou. Jeffries. Loughran. Jeffries. Loudermilk. McCarthy. Lucas. McCarthy. Lukemeyer. McCarthy. Luna.
Ending negotiations in good faith that will outlive this entire conference. Kevin McCarthy.
I can't believe that.
Due to negotiations, she said.
Yep.
So she sold out too. She's a freshman. She doesn't look like she's happy about her decision.
Yeah, she doesn't look like it.
McCarthy. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace.
I'm posting the directory for the representatives.
Mace.
Find your representative,
McCarthy.
find Luna, and
Magaziner.
beat up her phone right now.
Jeffries. Maliotakis. McCarthy. Mann. McCarthy. Manning.
Due to negotiate.
Jeffries. Massey.
In other words, they got to her.
Mast. McCarthy. Matsui. Jeffries. McBath. Jeffries. McCarthy. McCarthy. McCall. McCarthy. McLean. McCarthy. McClintock. McCarthy. McCullum. Jeffries. McCormick.
Yeah, that might not be a good link. Let me try and get a better link.
McGarvey. Jeffries. McGovern. Jeffries. McHenry. McCarthy. Meeks. Jeffries. Menendez. Jeffries. Meng. Jeffries. Muser. McCarthy. Mfume. Jeffries. Miller of Illinois. McCarthy.
Who was that?
That one from Illinois.
See, that's what they're doing. And they're all clapping because they managed to take
Miller of
away
Ohio.
somebody and put him back to McCarthy. That just
Miller
that
of
that
West
clapping,
Virginia.
that applause
McCarthy.
is corruption
Miller Reese.
achieved at the
McCarthy.
price of one in the representatives.
Mills. McCarthy. Molinaro. McCarthy. Molinar. McCarthy. Mooney. McCarthy. Moore of Alabama. McCarthy. Moore of Utah. McCarthy. Moore of Wisconsin. Jeffries. Moran. McCarthy. Morelli. Jeffries. Moskowitz. Jeffries. Moulton. Jeffries. Mervan. Jeffries. Mullen. Jeffries. Murphy. Murphy. McCarthy. Nadler. Jeffries. Napolitano. Jeffries. Neal. Jeffries. Neguse. Jeffries. Nails. McCarthy. Newhouse. McCarthy. Nickel. Jeffries. Norcross. Jeffries. Norman.
Ralph Norman of South Carolina just gave it up.
Nunn of Iowa.
Don't let the applause knock you down, folks. That applause is showing
Obernolte.
the corruption.
McCarthy. Ocasio-Cortez. Jeffries.
The true colors. That's right,
Ogles.
T.
Ogles. Omar. Jeffries. Owens. McCarthy. Pallone. Jeffries. Palmer. McCarthy. Panetta. Jeffries. Pappas. Jeffries. Pasquale. Jeffries. Payne. Payne. Pelosi. Jeffries. Peltola. Jeffries. Pence. McCarthy. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. McCarthy.
Perry just switched up too. What were they
Peters.
promised or what were they threatened?
Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. McCarthy. Phillips. Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Porter. Jeffries. Posey. McCarthy.
This is sickening.
Presley.
It's absolutely sickening.
Presley.
There's a bunch of them that look that switch
Quigley.
that literally look happy.
Jeffries.
I agree,
Ramirez.
Weathercat. They're not looking happy about their decision to switch.
Jeffries. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. McCarthy. Rogers of Washington. McCarthy. Rogers of Alabama. McCarthy. McCarthy. Rogers of Kentucky. Rogers of Kentucky. McCarthy.
This definitely shows you the kind of trouble we're in this country. When corruption
McCarthy.
can do this.
Rosendale. Hearn.
Order.
Ross. Jeffries.
See, the way he did that, tells you that he did.
McCarthy,
I am not being bought.
Roy,
Oh my
I
God!
can't believe it.
And he's not looking happy
Yeah,
either.
He doesn't look like he's happy. He said,
They have gotten to him. I would have never.
see, there he sits by
He's sitting
Donald.
by Donald's,
Louise,
and they're just like,
Jeffries,
They both got their head hanging down.
Ruppersberger, Jeffries, Rutherford,
I would have never thought Roy would have done that.
McCarthy,
So what did they give Roy?
Jeffries,
Bought and paid for.
Salazar,
Bought and paid for. You know it.
Salinas, Jeffries, Sanchez,
Did they find dirt or on these people or something that we're not aware
That's
of?
what I was wondering.
Sanchez,
You know, what did they come up with?
They found something on these people to get them to
McCarthy.
switch.
Sarbanes, Jeffries, Scalise, McCarthy, Scanlon, Jeffries,
Unbelievable. I'm in shock.
Schakowsky, Jeffries, Schiff,
And you can tell from their faces they're not happy with their
Schneider.
decision.
Jeffries, Skolton, Jeffries, Schreier, Jeffries, Schweikert,
Well, the military stepped in once before in 1863
Austin
when
Scott,
there was a civil war.
McCarthy, David Scott,
And I might add that Chip Roy's name.
Jeffries,
Now, this isn't the first time he's done this, okay? Now that I think about it. He did it, and here we go with this guy. Keith Self of Texas has switched up. And see, he's not even clapping about his decision. So,
Sessions, McCarthy, Sewell, Jeffries, Sherman, Jeffries,
these people need to hold the line. So, fine, shake them out.
Simpson,
This tells you a lot.
McCarthy,
These people who switched up,
Slotkin,
bad. But
Smith of Missouri,
this
McCarthy,
is telling.
Smith of Nebraska,
Chip Roy is on that list of 388
Smith of New Jersey,
on the Brunson case sitting in front of the Supreme Court right now. So he
Smith of
switched up once
Washington.
before. He certified. He put his name, his yay, down
McCarthy,
to say that the
Sorensen.
election was fine and to put the resident in
Jeffries.
power.
Soto,
So
Jeffries, Spanberger,
he did it again.
Jeffries,
He did it again.
Sparks, McCarthy,
We still, Sparks,
She just voted McCarthy too instead of president. She's the one that's voting president all day yesterday, the last couple of days.
she's also not happy.
Stansbury,
So they have gotten to these people.
Jeffries,
This should make every American pissed
Stanton,
by what they're seeing these
Jeffries.
these
Stauber,
rhinos. Really,
McCarthy,
every one of them that are applauding,
Steele,
and those who have switched,
McCarthy,
they've proven that they're rhinos.
Stefanik,
I'm sorry,
McCarthy, Stiles,
that's what they have done.
McCarthy, Stuvey, McCarthy, Stevens, Jeffries, Stewart,
Just goes to show we can't trust any of them.
Strickland,
We can put our trust in these 7 at the moment.
Jeffries, Strong, McCarthy, Swalwell, Jeffries, Sykes, Jeffries,
He still doesn't get it. We go into
Tejano.
a 13th today, right now, at the end of
Tenney.
this,
McCarthy,
and we keep beating it at,
Tennant,
keep it at 7. If it's at 7,
Jeffries,
he doesn't get it.
Thompson of
These
California,
people need to wake up.
Jeffries, Thompson of Mississippi. Jeffries. Thompson of Pennsylvania. McCarthy. Tiffany. McCarthy. Timmons. McCarthy. Titus. Jeffries. Talib. Jeffries. Takuda. Jeffries. Taco. Jeffries. Torres of California. Jeffries.
No, Virginia, it's not. We've lost
Torres of New York.
a significant
Jeffries.
amount of our 20 already.
Trahan.
Most all.
Jeffries. Trone. Trone.
Mary Miller also switched up.
Turner. McCarthy. Underwood. Jeffries. Valadeo. McCarthy. Van Drew.
So 12 of the 20 have already flipped.
McCarthy. Van Dyne. McCarthy. Van Orden. McCarthy. Vargas. Jeffries. Vasquez. Jeffries. VC. Jeffries. Velasquez. Jeffries. Wagner. McCarthy. Wahlberg. McCarthy. Waltz. McCarthy. Wasserman Schultz. Jeffries. Waters. Jeffries. Watson Coleman. Jeffries. Weber of Texas. McCarthy. Webster of Florida. McCarthy. Winstrup. McCarthy. Westerman. McCarthy. Wexton. Jeffries. Wild. Jeffries. Williams of Georgia. Jeffries. Williams of New York. McCarthy. Williams of Texas. McCarthy.
Chip Roy received a deal from McCarthy.
Wilson of Florida. Jeffries. Wilson of South Carolina. McCarthy.
Scott Perry is citing
Whitman.
good faith deal negotiations with
McCarthy.
McCarthy's group.
Womack.
Good faith.
McCarthy.
I'm sorry, there's no
Johnson.
good faith in this.
McCarthy. Zinke.
Let me see what flag he
McCarthy.
has lapel before I make it.
The reading clerk will now call the names of the members-elect who did not answer the first call of the roll.
Alford. McCarthy. Buck. Buck.
Oh, he's gone. He won't be there.
Buck won't be there.
Burchett.
No one's here to not speak. And I've never been asked to give a nomination speech, and I'm not bitter about it. In every regard.
What did he say?
Kassar. Jeffries.
This is sickening.
Diaz-Balart.
Would have thought these guys had more backbone than that.
Goldman of New York. Jeffries. Gosar.
Be back in a few minutes.
McCarthy.
What? Gosar? They're giving him a hug. He's not happy.
You can tell
He's sick to his stomach.
yeah, he wants to get out of there.
He's leaving.
Hunt.
He just
Hunt.
this is extremely concerning. These people have been bought off
Ledger Fernandez.
to do this.
Jeffries.
And there he sits, his pompous ass.
Ogles.
Shoot. Somebody's spamming me.
On behalf of my colleagues that are negotiating in good faith, as an act of good faith, my colleagues.
McCarthy.
See, they've negotiated in good faith. That's what they've been told to say. We've negotiated in good faith.
Look at him. Look at him. He looks happy.
They're not happy about this.
Payne.
Can't hardly swallow.
Jeffries.
He sits at 217, I
Presley.
think.
Jeffries.
250.
Salazar. McCarthy.
Yeah, they got to him.
Sanchez.
215.
Jeffries. Trone. Trone.
Quick bounce.
If there are any members-elect who did not answer the call of the roll, they may come to the well and vote at this time.
That makes 432 right there.
He's like a mafioso boss sitting down there in my mind.
Yep.
He's like the mafioso boss. He's got a 12th loss nonetheless. They're trying to pressure the Patriots. The Patriots have to stand their ground. Some of these people have got to grow a conscience and come back. You got to keep beating this guy with the beanbags. It's just... I'll be back in a minute.
After the 12th round of voting for House Speaker, the unofficial tally, Kevin McCarthy with 214 votes, Hakeem Jeffries with 211, 7 Republicans choosing not to vote for Kevin McCarthy, a very distinct shift from the 11th vote where it ended last night. This is Sarah Ferris from her tweet, Capitol Hill reporter, saying it's the first concrete sign of movement for McCarthy in days. This has been the McCarthy team's biggest goal, any kind of momentum to prevent further bleeding of Republican sources, saying that they still believe it's impossible to get all the votes today, they would still need several more, quote, never Kevin votes. Remember, the magic number is 218. A reminder, yesterday, this is where things stood. Kevin McCarthy with 200 votes. He picked up 14 votes in that 12th round of voting. Here's who he picked up. Dan Bishop of North Carolina, Josh Breachin of Oklahoma, Michael Cloud of Texas, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, Byron Donalds of Florida, Anna Paulina Luna of Florida, Mary Miller of Illinois, Ralph Norman of South Carolina, Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, Chip Roy of Texas, Keith Self of Texas, Paul Gosar of Arizona, Andy Ogles of Tennessee, and Victoria Sparks of Indiana shifted her vote from present in the last round of voting to a vote actively for Kevin McCarthy. That's the 14 votes that Kevin McCarthy picked up since the 11th round. 7 Republicans still holding out against Kevin McCarthy, and Kevin McCarthy can only lose 4 and still become Speaker of the House. Andy Biggs of Arizona continuing to vote against Kevin McCarthy. Lauren Boebert of Colorado also voting for another candidate. Eli Crane of Arizona joining Lauren Boebert in voting for Kevin Hern. Matt Gaetz of Florida voting for Jim Jordan. Bob Good of Virginia voting for Jim Jordan. Andy Harris of Maryland voting for Jim Jordan. Matt Rosendale of Montana voting for Kevin Hern. A couple of the members who shifted their vote in that round of voting tweeting out statements. Here's 2 of them. Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, who came over to the McCarthy side in that round, saying at 1:05 p.m. Eastern via Twitter, "We're at a turning point. I've negotiated in good faith with one purpose, to restore the People's House back to its rightful owners. The framework for an agreement is in place. So in good faith, I voted to restore the People's House by voting for GOP leader McCarthy." And this via Olivia Beavers of Politico, tweeting out Keith Self's statement, Keith Self of Texas. This is part of what the congressman-elect had to say. "My vote today was to show support for significant rule changes to transform the House from being dysfunctional to functional. I believe we are on the precipice of transferring significant power from leadership to individual members and the American people. It has become clear to me," he said in his statement, "that a couple of individuals are simply obstructionists, more interested in self-promotion than restoring the republic. I ran for Congress to be a voice and a vote for the people of the 3rd Congressional District of Texas. I appreciate all of the input that has been offered over the past few days, and I am taking it into consideration as I continue to negotiate in good faith on your behalf." Sahil Kapoor of NBC News taking us inside the talks via his Twitter feed. The Freedom Caucus wants 3 seats on the Rules Committee, which controls what bills go to the floor. The current negotiations involve Kevin McCarthy picking one, and they present a list, and he picks 2 more from that list. That's according to lawmakers talking to Sahil Kapoor. That's the latest. We're at the end of the 12th round. The unofficial tally, again, Kevin McCarthy picking up 14 votes, 214 now. Hakeem Jeffries at 211. 7 Republicans still voting for another candidate besides Kevin McCarthy. Live coverage of the House floor here on C-SPAN.
Well, this is, I guess, expected, but the corruption is on display because we know that McCarthy is all about power. We know that McCarthy is all about money. And there's a lot of big money in that swamp being tossed around. So they, excuse me, these members that have that have flipped, they have stepped over the line and into a corrupt way. They say that it's about being for the people. You know, you have one of those that flipped. I forget the name. You heard that it was just read off his tweet saying in good faith negotiations. When you start seeing 4 or 5 of these individuals saying the same thing, good faith negotiations, that's a narrative that's being pumped to them. That's very much like what we see with the media, where they receive an email from above, and then you can literally see every one of them saying the same thing. Every one of them. So, I mean, you can lay 100 channels across the country. You can lay them in a mosaic, and you can see that they're all saying the same thing, all verbatim. This is what's going on. This House of Representatives is so damn corrupt. We need to have it completely replaced. I stand with those 7 people. Those 7 people need to stay strong. We lose one of them. Actually, we lose 4 now. He gets his 218. But it's by happenstance because you've got a couple of people who are out for the weekend. So he still won't get his 218, right? So he's at 4 away from 218. He would have to have 4 of those 7 today in order to not make his 218. So at 214, he's not there. He still needs 4 more. And because there are people missing today that would be on the vote, he's going to have to go to those 7 and threaten and bring 4 of them over. I don't know that he can do that today. But if he does, then it means that we're completely compromised. And, Boebert and Gates will be put in dark rooms in the basement and not put on committees, because that's the way this corrupt group works. They will not be representing the people that voted them into office. This corruption has to be stopped. So we're watching today this Brunson case. The Brunson case 22-380 is currently in conference. Okay. Also, I just found that this morning Matt Gaetz posted a letter to the Capitol, to the Honorable Brett Blanton, and what he's asking is, on January 3rd, that he reached out with another letter about Representative Kevin McCarthy occupying the Speaker of the House's office in the U.S. Capitol. Your Director of Legislative and Public Affairs, Christine Leonard, has confirmed receipt, but we have yet to hear from you, and our questions remain unanswered. As of this morning, January 6th, a speaker from the 118th Congress has not been elected. After 3 days of voting and 11 ballots, no member can lay claim to this office. My questions remain. What is the basis in law, House rule, or precedence to allow someone who has placed second in 3 successive speaker elections to occupy the Speaker of the House's office, the House office? And how long will he remain there before he is considered a squatter? Okay. Please write back by 5 p.m. today, as it seems Mr. McCarthy will not be elected Speaker of the House. So we go on to what's going on in the my mouse is acting weird here. In the SCOTUS today. This case of Brunson versus Adams is in conference as we speak. We will not learn about this until Monday. So this is what we're going to hang our hat on today, I think. You know, this writ of certiorari is it has some far-reaching ramifications. I'm shaking. I'm so angry. I'm actually shaking. I'm so angry because I put a lot more into these people that have flipped, especially Chip Roy. I don't know what the threat was or what the promises in good faith negotiation were, but it's just wow. Sarah Carpenter says, I am so ashamed of what was once patriots for the people voting for a rhino like Kevin. They could have given their own name pick. This is true. So what do we do as patriots if McCarthy gets in there? McCarthy gets in as Speaker of the House. We'll see some token movement, but for the most part, we'll see what we saw with Paul Ryan. It's hard for me to fathom what it is that could be negotiated that isn't already the Speaker's job. If Kevin McCarthy went to these individuals that were flipped and said, you know what, Nancy Pelosi put a 50-year seal on the January 6th evidence locker, including the 14,000 hours of videotape. If this evidence was to come out into the public arena, not a committee, it would show beyond a shadow of doubt the amount of corruption in the House of Representatives. It should be his job to say, no matter what, if he was made Speaker, that he would release that 50-year seal because it is the people's information and it has no reason being locked up. We would see the statements that was made by Ray Epps that we haven't heard. All of those statements. We would see the 14,000 hours of videotape that would prove that the Capitol Police was opening doors for individuals. Some of this leaked out early on in 2021, I mean, showing individuals coming through a checkpoint, magnetometer checkpoint, carrying AR-15s. And they were allowed by the Capitol Police to go around the magnetometer, laughing and joking with the Capitol Police that were there, allowing these people with weapons to go around the magnetometer. We've seen video of that. So this is absolutely the most corrupt body by volume, 435 members out of the three branches of government. Next up is the Senate at 100 individuals. So by far, Article 1 of the Constitution is in crisis. And we know that Article 2 is in crisis. Article 1 of the Constitution is our legislative branch. Article 2 is the executive branch. And Article 3 is the the judiciary branch. One has to sit here and think for a moment, if we have these compromised branches of government, how do we get it back? How do we toss out the trash? How do we toss it out? Because it is a cesspool. It's a dumpster, and it's on fire. It's a dumpster fire. And only a handful of patriots see that in there. More see it. But now they're afraid to do anything about it. They have negotiated in good faith with the devil. This book means a lot to a lot of us. But it's looking more and more like this book means nothing. And I hate to say that. I'm emotional even saying that. Because we've seen plenty over the last 2 years at least that has gone against everything is in that book. And quite frankly, in all three branches of government. I do believe that there's only one way, should we fail in this blocking of McCarthy, there's only one way for us to start to get this back, and that is to shut it all down with our military. But I'm going to be honest with you, I think they're compromised too. The people who want to rule this world, who want to play what Hitler was trying to play, and turn over all of our sovereignty to the World Economic Forum and the UN as their policing arm. They've gotten to they've spent a lot of years doing this, setting this up, so that when they pull the trigger, there's only one thing that stands the ground right now, and that is the Second Amendment. For all these decades, it's been the only thing that has stopped the invasion is our Second Amendment. A lot of other countries have been taking away their citizens' weapons, their arms. 1996, they took away Australia's arms. Canada is right now even trying to take away hunters' rifles. Biden's on record saying that the only thing that we should have as Americans is a shotgun. They're trying to disarm us because ultimately we're their only threat. And if the military is compromised and doesn't step in, I just don't know what else would be open. I have been an advocate for trying to end this peacefully. To get the people to rise up. And I am still an advocate for that. Imagine, if you will, for just a moment, imagine every major road from the West Coast to the East Coast stacked up with people. Not just Washington, D.C., but every road going to D.C. This is what I was trying to achieve when I started my walk on July 2nd. I was trying to achieve basically what you're seeing in Brazil in the United States. But they have done such a good job at brainwashing Americans that we can't even get Americans to stand up and do something about what's happening. What we see right before our eyes. Just don't know what else we can do at this point. I'll continue on for this fight to try and gather the people and get the people to come out into the streets with me, because I still think that that carries weight. We have to take this, we have to go back to this book, and we have to look at the 10th Amendment. Put the pressure on the federal government by going to each and every state and saying, you know, we're sovereign citizens of our state. In my case, Nevada. And we put the pressure on our states to start putting the pressure on the federal government, because we clog up every street. We basically, everybody realize that we need to take a leave of absence from our jobs. Me, I've lost my company because I have put everything into trying to make a movement, because I can see that I just have seen too much to just sit back and say, oh, well, I tried. But through conversation with people up there in Washington, D.C., senators, congressmen, it's hard to unsee and unhear things. And it's just hard for me to say, well, I'm just going to go back and find a job or try to collect my Social Security and just let them do what it is. They're going to burn down the damn house. Let them burn down the damn house. Maybe I just hop in my beechwood and go and find a spot out in the middle of nowhere and just say, screw it. They're going to do what they want to do. We can't get Americans to stand up. I can't see doing that. I know a lot of people that are doing that. A lot of people that are saying that, you know, we just can't change this machine. Well, how the hell do we know we can't change it if we don't try? Have you seen millions of people blocking up the streets from the West Coast to the East Coast across the United States by the millions, like what we're seeing currently in Brazil? Have you? I haven't. I tried to get the people to do that. A lot of people considered me a joke. If you think that's a joke, then tell me what a better plan is. How can we make change without involving a lot of people? How can we do it? We can all be on the same page. You can have groups go down to Washington, D.C., but if you don't have people, you don't have anything. If you don't have the ability to shut down that city to where nobody can move throughout that city because there's too many people to move, what good is it? Where does it move the needle? And I say that it needs to happen across the states, not just DC. Yes, he will. He will punish all of them. He gets to be Speaker of the House. None of those 20 people will get a single thing. And Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert, Andy Biggs, will be shunned. Yeah. I don't know what's going on over here at the moment. But they just all stood up and clapped.
The Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of the state of New York has received 211.
Oh. We're getting ready to go in for another vote. Number 13 of the day. 13th ballot.
The Honorable Jim Jordan of the state of Ohio has received 4. The
No
Honorable
claps.
Kevin Hearn of the state of Oklahoma has received 3. No member-elect having received a majority of the votes cast, the speaker has not been elected. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky rise?
I rise on behalf of the Republican Party to nominate Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the 118th Congress.
Here we go.
The gentleman is recognized.
For the past 2 years, one-party Democrat rule has resulted in multiple crises that are harming Americans without any oversight or accountability from this body. Americans are facing historic inflation, skyrocketing energy costs, the worst border crisis in American history.
All of this is true. That doesn't mean that McCarthy is going to take us out of it.
One of the reasons is there's been no congressional oversight. There's no sense of urgency from this White House or the bureaucrats.
I'll be back.
Populate this town to move. I want to talk about that. Oversight of our tax dollars. That's our responsibility. We've all heard reports of hundreds of millions of dollars of potential waste and fraud in the unemployment insurance programs in all 50 states. We've all heard reports of misuse of hundreds of millions of dollars of the stimulus money, of PPP loan funds. But yet, there has not been a single hearing in the House Oversight Committee about this. The border crisis. We've made several trips on this side of the aisle to the border. We've listened to the Border Patrol agents. Their message is loud and clear. Under President Biden, the Border Patrol has become the welcoming committee. They're begging for help to do their job. Law enforcement officers in all 50 states are begging Congress to force this administration to secure the border, to do something about the fentanyl crisis that plagues every community in every state in our great nation. Americans watched in disarray at the debacle in Afghanistan, and Americans were left with many questions. How much equipment was left behind for the Taliban? How many Americans were left behind? The origination of COVID-19. We all know someone personally who lost their life during COVID-19. They deserve answers to what really happened in that lab in Wuhan, China. Those of us who had kids in the public school system can testify that our kids have lost a year of their education because of the forced virtual learning that so many of our schools put our children through during the COVID pandemic. Congress ran the debt up at least $3 trillion in the name of COVID-19. Yet, as I mentioned earlier, there has not been a single hearing in the Oversight Committee to deal with potential waste, fraud, or abuse of the COVID funds. Not a single hearing. And we all know, despite what Dr. Fauci said, American tax dollars were sent through EcoHealth Alliance to the Wuhan lab in China for gain-of-function research. But yet Dr. Fauci hasn't come before Congress in the House of Representatives. The American people deserve answers on COVID-19, and Speaker Kevin McCarthy has given the Republican majority the tools necessary to make that possible. The Democrats have spent the past 6 years investigating a president for potential wrongdoing in Ukraine and Russia. Now, let me say this loud and clear. The Republicans will also investigate a president for potential wrongdoing in Ukraine and Russia, as well as China. The American people have a lot of questions for Dr. Fauci, Christopher Wray, Merrick Garland, Secretary Mayorkas. We can't have those questions. We can't ask those questions until we get organized and elect our speaker. The role of the Oversight Committee under Speaker Pelosi was a full-time committee to harass the previous president, a committee to advocate for wage social issues, which the Oversight Committee had absolutely no jurisdiction, and a committee totally uninterested in the American taxpayer. In a Republican majority under Speaker Kevin McCarthy and many of my friends embedded in these negotiations, the House Oversight Committee with strong members like Byron Donalds and Andy Biggs and Jim Jordan will return to its original mission of identifying waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement in the federal government and holding unelected bureaucrats accountable. In a Republican majority under Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the forgotten working men and women's voices will finally be heard and represented. And in a Republican majority under Speaker Kevin McCarthy, this broken Congress will finally be fixed, and we will return to regular order, and we will drag those senators kicking and screaming along with us every step of the way. We will return to regular order. We will get the backs of the American taxpayers. This is the people's house. Let's get to work. Madam Clerk, I'm proud to nominate Kevin McCarthy to be the next Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Texas rise?
Madam Clerk, I rise to nominate a great leader, a unifier, not a divider, Hakeem Jeffries, for Speaker of the United States House of Representatives.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
We are on day 4, the 13th vote, and House Democrats continue to stand united with Hakeem Jeffries, with him and for him, because he is a uniter, not a divider, and a positive force of nature. 2 days ago, during the 4th, 5th, maybe the 6th roll call, a nominator claimed this process should not be considered dysfunction. Madam Clerk, their process didn't begin this week. They've had months to figure this out. And Americans should have profound concerns about what this portends. As we gather here in this chamber on this solemn day, the 2nd anniversary of January 6th, when members of law enforcement were under siege, when there was an attempted coup, an insurrection that will live in infamy, what we lived through was an assault on our republic and on our democracy from within. On that day, when my colleagues and I were trapped in this gallery, the terrorists who assaulted our police officers could be heard banging on these doors, breaking these windows, and they were here to prevent the certification of a free and fair election. I shudder to think what a Republican majority's inability to govern would have meant on that day, and what it could mean in the future for those of us who believe in defending our democracy abroad, and now more than ever, here at home. On this painful anniversary, thankfully, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries made sure that we came together to mark the moment, to honor our law enforcement, recognize the lives lost as a result of that day, honor the families and the survivors, and to ensure that we recommit to our republic and our democracy. That is the kind of speaker that our nation needs. We are now 4 days into what should be the 118th Congress, and the House of Representatives has no committees, no rules, no classified briefings, no members who have taken their oaths to serve our country. There are no debates happening on this floor about addressing the challenges we face at home or around the globe. No votes on legislation to tackle the challenges facing the American people. Madam Clerk, they told the American people they wanted to win the majority to fight inflation. The only thing they're fighting is each other. These 4 days have tested House Republicans' ability to govern, and they have failed. With Hakeem Jeffries as our Speaker, Congress can continue to deliver common sense, bipartisan solutions for the American people. Instead, what we've seen unfold before our very eyes is exactly what's in store for the country over the next 2 years under Republican control.
And this should be deeply concerning to the American people who expect us to do our jobs and fulfill even the most fundamental functions of this institution, like voting on the debt ceiling to fund expenditures we've already made. What if this happens then? What if we default on our debts because of the Republican majority's inability to govern? What impact will that have on our economy or on the global economy? And in less than 9 months, in September, we have a vote to fund the government, to pay for our military, Social Security, Medicare, and other obligations. What happens on September 30th when government funding runs out and they're in charge? With Hakeem Jeffries as our speaker, we can continue to advance an agenda that puts people over politics, just as we did in the 117th Congress with a majority as slim as theirs. Es un gran honor nominar a mi amigo. Madam Clerk, as co-chair of the House Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, and in accordance with the vote of the House Democratic Caucus, I'm honored to present for election to the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives for the 118th Congress the name of a man of integrity and intellect who is bold and brilliant, and most importantly, a man who leads with love, the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, representative from the state of New York.
The reading clerk will call the roll. Adams. Jeffries. Adderholt. Adderholt. Aguilar. Jeffries. Alford. McCarthy. Allen. McCarthy. Allred. Jeffries. Amadei. Amadei. Armstrong. McCarthy. Arrington. Arrington. Auchincloss. Jeffries. Babin.
I don't see it as a good sign that we didn't hear from Boebert or Gates.
McCarthy.
It could blow up on us right now.
McCarthy. Balderson. Balderson. Ballant. Jeffries. Banks. McCarthy. Farr. McCarthy. Barragan. Jeffries. Bean of Florida. McCarthy. Beatty. Jeffries. Betts.
Not a good sign. We didn't see Gates or anyone else get up and nominate someone else, so
Jeffries.
they might have buckled on us, folks.
McCarthy. Byer. Jeffries. Bice. McCarthy. Biggs. Jordan.
Okay, that's good. Biggs is still with us.
Villarapas. Villarapas.
Get him. Get him.
McCarthy.
Get
Bishop
down.
of Georgia.
Now.
Jeffries. Bishop of North Carolina. McCarthy. Blumenauer. Jeffries.
You cannot.
Blunt Rochester. Jeffries.
Okay.
Bogert. Jordan. Bonamici. Jeffries. Bost. McCarthy.
Animals.
Bowman.
My cat keeps trying to take down the
Jeffries.
Venetian blinds
Boyle of Pennsylvania. Jeffries.
and attack the dog.
Burkeen. McCarthy. Brown. Jeffries. Brownlee. Jeffries. Buchanan. McCarthy. Buck.
Yeah, we got 7
Buck.
others. It's another no vote for him.
McCarthy.
So all we can hope for.
Jeffries. Burchett. McCarthy. Burgess. McCarthy. Burleson. McCarthy.
The 7 just got to
Bush.
stay strong and
Jeffries.
keep doing it.
Calvert. McCarthy. Kamek. McCarthy. Caraballo. Jeffries. Carbajal.
This has really deflated me this morning.
Jeffries. Cardenas.
We've I just had lunch. Sorry.
Carey. McCarthy. Carl. McCarthy. Carson.
With what's happening in this country, we cannot
Jeffries.
afford
Carter of Georgia.
to have more of the same.
McCarthy. Carter of Louisiana.
He gets in there, we'll
Jeffries.
still
Carter
have
of
the good old
Texas.
boys club.
McCarthy. Cartwright. Jeffries. Kassar. Jeffries. Case. Jeffries. Caston. Jeffries. Castor of Florida. Jeffries. Castro of Texas. Jeffries. Chavez DeRemer. McCarthy. Sherfilis McCormick. Jeffries. Chu. Jeffries. Cicilline. Jeffries. Cisco Mining. McCarthy. Clark of Massachusetts. Jeffries.
Well, Andy,
Clark of New York. Jeffries. Cleaver.
the swamp has gotten to
Jeffries.
some of our 20. I think
Klein.
13, maybe 13 of our 20 have switched their votes back to
Klein.
McCarthy or to McCarthy. So
Cloud.
they're all saying it's in due to good faith negotiations. So that means
Clyburn.
that they've either been threatened or bought.
Clyde.
Because there's nothing that
McCarthy. Cohen.
should be negotiated. Everything
Jeffries.
that they are, quote, negotiating should be already part of the speaker's position. There should be
Cole.
negotiating chips, there should not be,
McCarthy.
negotiating chips.
Collins.
You can say, let's negotiate. Let's negotiate
Comer.
for your vote. I'll negotiate for your vote.
Connolly.
You give me the vote.
Jeffries.
I'll give you
Correa.
X, Y, and Z that I should have given it. I should be given as speaker anyway, but I'm going to hold back.
Jeffries.
I want to have a joint resolution.
Jeffries.
Be the first joint resolution, HJ Res 1,
Jeffries. Crane.
that goes towards termination of the state of emergency that we are under.
Crawford.
McCarthy can, if
McCarthy.
if he's put in, may never let it get into a committee. And if it doesn't get into a committee, if the
Crockett.
resolution doesn't go to a committee,
Jeffries.
then we cannot run a discharge
Craig.
petition and pull it out of that.
Jeffries.
So
Cuellar. Jeffries.
we're screwed.
Curtis.
Point
McCarthy.
blank, we're screwed. We
Davis of Kansas.
can't do
Jeffries.
what is right for this country
Davidson.
because there's not a single representative up there that's representing people, with the
Davis
exception of these
Illinois.
7
Jeffries.
that you saw in the last ballot.
Davis of North Carolina.
Out of 435 members, there
Dean
are
of
7
Pennsylvania.
patriots. That's it.
Jeffries.
This is definitely a David and Goliath story going on here.
Jeffries. Dela Cruz.
And
McCarthy.
I think we're just going to have to look to the
Delora.
good Lord above to help us out of this.
Del Bene. Jeffries. DeLuzio. Jeffries. Desaulnier. Jeffries. Desjardins. McCarthy. Diaz-Pisito. McCarthy. Diaz-Balart. Diaz-Balart. Dingle. Jeffries. Doggett. Jeffries.
Yeah, that would be a third, Sarah. Either paid off, threatened,
Duarte.
or blackmail threatened.
McCarthy. Duncan.
There is no good faith negotiations. Come on.
Duncan.
If you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you in New
Dunn
York.
of Florida.
Every single thing
Dunn of Florida.
that would be
McCarthy.
negotiated.
Edwards. McCarthy. Elsie. McCarthy. Emmer.
Yes, Mona.
McCarthy. Escobar. Jeffries. Eshu. Jeffries. Espaillat. Jeffries. Estes. McCarthy. Evans. Jeffries. Ezell. McCarthy. Fallon. McCarthy. Finstra. McCarthy. Ferguson. McCarthy. Finstad. McCarthy. Fishbach. McCarthy. Fitzgerald. McCarthy. Fitzpatrick. McCarthy. Fleischman. McCarthy. Fletcher. Jeffries. Flood. McCarthy. Foster. Jeffries. Cushing. Jeffries. Fox. McCarthy. Lois Frankel. Jeffries. C. Scott Franklin. McCarthy. Frost. Jeffries. Fry. McCarthy. Fulcher. McCarthy. Gates. Jordan. Gallagher. McCarthy. Gallego. Jeffries. Garamendi. Jeffries. Garbarino. McCarthy. Mike Garcia. McCarthy. Robert Garcia. Jeffries. Garcia of Illinois. Jeffries. Garcia of Texas. Jeffries. Jimenez. McCarthy. Golden of Maine. Jeffries. Goldman of New York. Jeffries. Gomez. Jeffries. Tony Gonzalez. McCarthy. Vicente Gonzalez. Jeffries. Good of Virginia. Jordan. Gooden of Texas. McCarthy. Gosar. McCarthy. Gottheimer. Jeffries. Granger. McCarthy. Graves of Louisiana. McCarthy. Graves of Missouri. McCarthy. Green of Tennessee. McCarthy. Green of Texas.
Oh, here we are.
Jeffries. Green of Georgia.
Green is
McCarthy.
so bad.
Griffith. McCarthy. Grijalva. Jeffries. Grothman. McCarthy. Guest. McCarthy. Guthrie. McCarthy. Hageman. McCarthy. Harder of California. Jeffries. Harris. McCarthy.
Did we just get sunk?
Harshbarger.
Did we lose one of our 7? He
McCarthy.
doesn't look happy.
Hayes. Jeffries. Hearn. McCarthy. Higgins of Louisiana. McCarthy. Higgins of New York. Jeffries. Hill. McCarthy. Hines. Jeffries.
That's right. I think 5 is all we need today. It was 7 yesterday. But he still got our 7.
Horsford.
I don't know.
Jeffries.
Is
Houchin.
it 5 or 6?
McCarthy. Houlihan. Jeffries.
Because there's a few House members that are out today, Republicans.
Jeffries. Hoyle of Oregon. Jeffries. Hudson. McCarthy. Huffman. Jeffries. Huizenga. McCarthy. Hunt. Hunt. Issa.
Hunt's not there again.
Issa. McCarthy. Ivy. Jeffries. Jackson of Illinois. Jeffries. Jackson of North Carolina. Jeffries. Jackson of Texas. McCarthy. Jackson Lee. Jeffries. Jacobs.
Well, this is one thing we need
Jacobs.
to start cleaning this
Jeffries.
mess up.
James McCarthy. Jayapal Jeffries. 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 Johnson of Georgia. Jeffries. Johnson of Louisiana. McCarthy. Johnson of Ohio. McCarthy. Johnson of South Dakota. McCarthy. Jordan. McCarthy. Joyce of Ohio. McCarthy. Joyce of Pennsylvania. McCarthy. Camlogger Dove. Jeffries. Captor. Captor. Kane of New Jersey. McCarthy. Keating. Jeffries. Kelly of Illinois. Jeffries.
We need
Kelly
one more.
of Mississippi. McCarthy. Kelly of Pennsylvania. McCarthy. Kana. Jeffries. Higgins of Virginia. McCarthy. Kildee. Jeffries. Kiley. McCarthy. Kilmer. Jeffries. Kim of California. McCarthy. Kim
I see
of
some
New
folks
Jersey.
over on Twitter that have come over.
Jeffries.
Welcome.
Krishnamurthy.
We've had
Jeffries.
13 or 14 individuals jump
Custer.
from yesterday's 20 patriots that were
Jeffries. Kustoff.
standing up.
LaHood.
They have flipped back to McCarthy, and they don't look happy about that choice either.
LaLota.
So the
McCarthy.
12th vote, the
LaMalva.
12th ballot of the day
McCarthy.
was
Lamborn.
eye-opening to
McCarthy.
people
Landsman. Jeffries.
being flipped.
Langworthy. McCarthy. Larson. of
Mona
Washington.
Jordan has always said McCarthy. He hasn't
Jeffries.
flipped.
Larson of Connecticut. Jeffries.
He's always said that he was with McCarthy.
McCarthy. LaTurner. McCarthy. Lawler. McCarthy. Lee of California. Jeffries. Lee of Florida. McCarthy. Lee of Nevada. Jeffries. Lee of Pennsylvania. Jeffries. Leisure Fernandez. Jeffries. Lesko. McCarthy. Letlow. McCarthy.
Regina May, they're not going to listen to us until we are a bigger thorn in their side.
Jeffries.
When we can fill the streets with millions of people between the West Coast and the East Coast,
McCarthy.
like they're doing
Lucas.
in other countries, including
McCarthy.
Brazil.
Lukemeyer. McCarthy.
I bit my tongue
Luna.
sometime during the night, so
Luna.
it's a little
McCarthy.
sore there today.
Latrell. McCarthy. Lynch. Jeffries. Mace. Mace. Magaziner. Jeffries. Baliotakis. McCarthy. Mann. McCarthy. Manning, Jeffries, Massey, McCarthy, Mass.
This could be it.
Mass,
We'll lose our chance at
McCarthy,
starting to set things straight
Matsui,
in the House.
Jeffries, McBath, Jeffries, McCarthy, McCarthy, McCall, McCarthy, McLean, McCarthy, McClintock, McCarthy, McCullum, McCullum, Jeffries, McCormick, McCarthy, McGarvey, Jeffries, McGovern, Jeffries, McHenry, McCarthy, Meeks, Jeffries, Menendez, Jeffries, Maine, Jeffries, Muser, McCarthy, Mfume, Jeffries, Miller of Illinois, McCarthy, Miller of Ohio, McCarthy, Miller of West Virginia, McCarthy, Miller Meeks, McCarthy, Mills, Mills, Molinaro, McCarthy, Molinar, McCarthy, Mooney, McCarthy, Moore of Alabama, McCarthy, Moore of Utah, Moore of Utah, Moore of Wisconsin, Jeffries, Moran, McCarthy, Morelli, Jeffries, Moskowitz, Jeffries, Moulton, Jeffries, Mervan, Jeffries, Mullen, Jeffries, Murphy, McCarthy, Nadler, Jeffries, Napolitano, Jeffries,
So they've arrested
Neal,
Ashley Babbitt's mom
Nagoose,
for jaywalking
Jeffries,
at the Capitol.
Nels,
So now we're arresting
McCarthy,
people in the
Newhouse,
country of the District of Columbia
McCarthy,
for a misdemeanor charge.
Nickel, Jeffries, Norcross, Jeffries,
This is what we're coming to.
Norman, McCarthy, none of Iowa,
Between stuff like this and
McCarthy,
you failed to bow to the Führer. That's where we're headed.
Overhilty, McCarthy, Ocasio-Cortez, Jeffries, Ogles, McCarthy, Omar, Jeffries, Owens, McCarthy, Pallone, Jeffries, Palmer, McCarthy, Panetta, Jeffries, Pappas, Jeffries, Pasquarel, Jeffries, Payne. Jeffries. Pelosi. Jeffries. Paltola. Jeffries. Pence. McCarthy. Perez. Jeffries. Perry. Perry. Peters. Jeffries. Pedersen. Jeffries. Pfluger. McCarthy. Phillips. Jeffries. Pingree. Jeffries. Pocan. Jeffries. Porter. Jeffries. Posey. McCarthy. Presley. Jeffries. Quigley. Jeffries. Ramirez. Jeffries. Raskin. Jeffries. Reschenthaler. McCarthy. Rogers of Washington. McCarthy. Rogers of Alabama. McCarthy. Rogers
You may
of
pull it off
Kentucky.
this time.
McCarthy. Rose. McCarthy. Rosendale. Jordan.
Boom. We go to a 14th.
Ross. Jeffries. Browser. McCarthy. Roy. McCarthy. Ruiz. Jeffries. Rupersberger. Jeffries. Rutherford. McCarthy. Ryan. Jeffries. Salazar. McCarthy.
I believe it was 6 that we needed and not 7.
Sanchez. Jeffries. Santos.
Andy, I'd be doing it if it was available. I just don't have it in the cupboard. So
Sarbanes. Jeffries. Scalise. McCarthy.
I don't know that it's
Jeffries. Schakowsky. Jeffries.
let me think here a minute.
Schiff.
You had
Jeffries.
214.
Snyder. Jeffries.
So
Skolton. Jeffries. Schreier. Jeffries. Swiker.
I think he did. I think he's only going to pull 217.
McCarthy.
I think. Yep,
Austin
there it is.
Scott.
He
McCarthy.
doesn't have the votes.
David Scott. Jeffries. Scott of Virginia. Jeffries. Self. McCarthy. Sessions. McCarthy. Sewell. Jeffries. Sherman. Jeffries. Sherrill. Jeffries. Simpson. McCarthy. Slotkin. Slotkin.
Yeah, it's not good, Lou.
Smith of Missouri.
It means that they show their true colors. They're all talking about
McCarthy.
that
Smith of
they've
New
had
Jersey.
good faith negotiations
Smith
with
of
McCarthy.
Washington. Jeffries.
What are good faith negotiations
Smucker.
for being speaker?
McCarthy.
As
Sorensen.
Speaker of the House, you should do
Jeffries.
everything
Soto.
that
Jeffries.
is for the people,
Sandberger. Jeffries.
that is by the Constitution.
Sparks.
You don't
McCarthy,
allow the J6
Stansberry,
information to be locked up for 50 years as Pelosi did. You go in there and the first thing you do is you make it all public.
Stanton,
So there's no such thing as what happened in people's house being locked up for 50 years on the evidence.
McCarthy, Steele, McCarthy,
Sorry about that.
Style, McCarthy, Stubbe, McCarthy,
Now I got the hiccups.
Stevens, Jeffries, Stewart,
No hot coffee. He doesn't have the votes.
Strickland, Jeffries,
Yes, sir.
Strong,
It's hard to believe that they weren't blackmailed, threatened, or paid off.
Jeffries,
It's hard to believe that
Sykes,
because
Jeffries,
hiccups. I'm sorry. Hold on a minute.
Jeffries, Tenney, McCarthy, Tanadar, Jeffries, Thompson of California, Jeffries, Thompson of Mississippi, Jeffries, Thompson of Pennsylvania, McCarthy, Tiffany, McCarthy, Timmons, Titus, Jeffries, Tlaib, Jeffries, Takuda, Jeffries, Tonko, Jeffries, Torres of California, Jeffries, Torres of New York, Jeffries, Trahan, Jeffries, Trone, Jeffries, Turner, McCarthy, Underwood, Jeffries, Valadeo, McCarthy,
So I think that
Van Drew,
that one Democrat that was out the beginning of this week is back.
Van
So
Dyne,
he may be at 213, Jeffries.
McCarthy, Van Orden, McCarthy, Vargas, Jeffries, Vasquez, Jeffries, VC, Jeffries, Velasquez, Jeffries, Wagner,
Got one of those deep tickles.
McCarthy, Wahlberg,
When you try to get it out, you get the hiccups. So.
Wahlberg, McCarthy, Waltz, McCarthy, Wasserman Schultz, Jeffries, Waters, Jeffries, Watson Coleman, Jeffries, Weber of Texas, McCarthy, Webster of Florida, McCarthy, Winstrup, McCarthy, Westerman, Wexton, Jeffries, Wild, Jeffries, Williams of Georgia, Jeffries, Williams of New York, McCarthy, Williams of Texas. McCarthy. Wilson of Florida. Jeffries.
Here's
Wilson
a
of South
statement that
Carolina.
was just put out by Anna Pauline Luna.
McCarthy. Whitman. McCarthy. Womack. McCarthy. Yankum. McCarthy. Zinke. McCarthy.
My vote hinges on making negotiations in good faith, which are still pending. There is a once-in-a-lifetime negotiation in the works that changes the very foundation on which Congress functions. Please trust that I will always put you first. All of this will be disclosed to the public soon, and I am pushing to make that happen. These changes will outlive us all and will help restore power back to the American people, which is the only way I will vote for a deal.
McCarthy. Arrington. McCarthy. Balterson.
So that
McCarthy.
there's some question marks and still in my mind. Why did Donald Trump say go for McCarthy? And now Anna Luna and all of these people jumping ship. Is there truly something that we're missing that McCarthy holds, that he's made some kind of promises that even though he's dirty and even though we've seen him take money from FTX, which is Ukrainian laundered cryptocurrencies that came from our tax dollars, is there something we're missing here? I can't help but think that. But it's still something that we have to be very cognizant of. This speaker position is the most important thing towards restoring our republic. And if McCarthy is beholden to the George Soroses and the Sam Bankman-Frieds and McConnell and
Hunt.
And all of those, it's not going to happen. This once-in-a-lifetime deal that is being put forward that's converting these patriots from standing their ground.
Mace. McCarthy. Mills. McCarthy.
So,
Moore of Utah.
I don't know.
McCarthy. Perry. McCarthy. Slotkin.
I just don't trust McCarthy. I've seen him, and when you see the Democrats like Maxine Waters and all of these others going out and telling the reporters, you just have to support McCarthy. This tells me, my spidey sense says, no.
Their members-elect who did not answer the call of the roll, they may come to the well and vote at this time.
Something's definitely going on, though. Something definitely going on, but what is it? McCarthy comes and says, we're going to go and do all of this and that and this and that and the rules and this, that, and the other. Man, it's got to have substance. Because once he gets in there, he can just simply say, "Ah, psych." So what's the deal, McCarthy? Put it out there. What are you promising all these people? You are the third individual since the creation of a two-party system to take the ballots past 9 ballots. It happened in 1856, where it went almost 2 months. It happened again in 1923, where it went 9 ballots. And today, we're looking at least 14 ballots. If there's something really big in the mix, put another speaker on it. Put another name on it. You back down and you put somebody that is trustworthy, that could very well be our next president, because the House is going to impeach the resident and the vice resident. And if they get to the Senate and get a few of those Democrats to side with them in the Senate, then removal is certain. And if they, upon a successful impeachment process,
is 217. 217 votes needed to secure the Speaker's gavel. The 6 Republicans who voted voted for another candidate besides Kevin McCarthy in that 13th.
So it's 217 that he needs today. So something is being promised. They should come out and tell the American people what it is. You know, they want to go and impeach Biden and Harris. If they're successful at that, then whoever is Speaker of the House becomes president. And yeah, we have to look at that. Yeah, we're going into a 14th ballot for the first time since 1853. (1855) actually, since the creation of the two-party system in 1855. So since 1855, this is the third time that this has happened. So, and he needs 217 today. So we're on the edge of our seats. We're on the edge of our seats. They don't want to say what this good faith negotiation deal is. Because there's a member of the Republican Party that's out for the weekend. A couple of members, and it's changed the quorum count. So, sorry. I'm going to look around here. take a quick peek at some other things. So we've got the Supreme Court still in conference. I don't know about you, but I had a hard time sleeping last night. So can we talk a little bit about, I've got a rogue hair going on here. What's going on with the state of emergency? Since last February, when I started going out, talking about what it is that we needed to do to start healing our Constitution, I've been saying that we needed to end the state of emergency for COVID-19. And the state of emergency that was put in place on March 13th of 2020 can have a termination. It's under Section 202 of 50 USC 1622 and by 1A, I believe it is. And so the termination methods, bring up here and show you. So Section 202 of 50 USC 1622, termination methods for national emergencies. A1, there is enacted into law a joint resolution terminating the emergency, or, the president issues a proclamation terminating the emergency. Now, I'm not a constitutional lawyer or a lawyer, so, but I would think that or the president would mean that upon a joint resolution, meaning the House and Senate, to terminate, could end the state of emergency. Now, everything is being tied to the state of emergency, okay? They're tying the state of emergency is what all the mandates are tied to. The state of emergency is what the is what the emergency use authorizations are tied to. We've heard them talk about Title 42 and is part of the state of emergency on what, why they can't do things, why they can't do their jobs, why they're able to take away our rights, our constitutional rights, which are representations of our God-given rights. There were several times where the Senate put out joint resolutions, SJ Res 46, SJ Res 38 and SJ Res 63 were sent over to the House and Pelosi put them in the drawer. Now, the House also did a joint resolution, which is HJ Res 46. And it went to committee. So the ones that came out of the Senate that were already voted on, now 63 got the best. It had 12 Democrats that actually sided with the Republicans. So we had a 69-36 vote on this joint resolution to terminate the state of emergency. So that was promising. However, nothing would move in the House. And obviously, now that we are out of the 117th, all of those resolutions are dead. So now we have to have a new resolution. But if we look at what the resolution was, the resolution is a pretty simple resolution. If I look at HJ Res 46, for instance, in the 117th Congress, what you have here is HJ Res 46 relating to a national emergency declared by the President March 13th, 2020. The text of this is pretty simple. This is the entire bill, or the entire resolution. And again, as I've referenced earlier, Section 202 of 50 U.S.C. 1622 to terminate the state of emergency. Well, this was held up because it was actually in the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure basically under Sam Graves' finger as the minority leader of that particular committee. So a discharge petition was put together since it went to a committee. So the discharge petition was 117-12, which just says the 117th Congress, the 12th discharge petition, which would allow to have it removed from committee, bypassing the Speaker of the House's schedule to what goes to the floor and be voted on. At which point, 218 votes, passages, it would have gone to the Senate, and the Senate would have definitely, with seeing it as 69-36 on SJRS 63, would have been ending the state of emergency. So this was the number of individuals in the House that were on board. There was 132 members that got on board to end the state of emergency by pulling it out of committee and putting it on the floor for a vote. So that didn't move. So that all ended in the 117th Congress. When the 117th ended on the last day of the year, so did these resolutions. So we need a new joint resolution. And in the joint resolution, we basically need to cut and paste, or copy and paste, what was in House Joint Resolution 46 now would become House Joint Resolution 1. And the individual that pushed this through, Paul Gozer, would be, he didn't win re-election out of Arizona, I believe. I don't believe he would win a re-election. So we would have to find someone else. This is why I have calls into Mark Amodei, who is my congressman, to say, let's do a joint resolution and let's end the state of emergency. The state of emergency, the resident has said, is going on through at least April. I'm reading some of the notes here. Let's see. You would have to have a vote of no confidence to remove McCarthy. You're not going to get the count needed to have the vote of no confidence move through. You're probably going to see that from Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert if he gets in anyway. Not that it'll go anywhere. That's right, Gab. So you'd have to have a vote of no confidence from the representatives. You would have to put it in front of the rest of the Republicans and remove him that way, and then put a new speaker up. It's a long, drawn out process that if he made deals with these people and then he breaks that deal, then they would join this vote of no confidence, which I'm sure Gaetz will put up. He's going to do that day one. Boebert will co-author that, and it will continue. Yeah. I have to double check on that too. I think it's 218. It's still the majority of the House. So it would still be 18. The guy up there on C-SPAN said 217. I still believe it's 218. Because they did not put a motion to go to a simple majority vote. If they had a simple majority vote, then the 214 would have passed him. So yeah. Hey, Brad, I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Still fighting the shoulder pain, obviously. I have a T-Rex arm on this side, so I can lift that one, but I can't do that one. I can only T-Rex it. So we do that. If I try to shoot this arm up to hit this mute or to do something like that, then oof, I'm down on the floor. But I am scheduled for surgery, so we're looking to have this shoulder rebuilt. And then I'm out there, guys. Then I'm out there. We need your help. We need your help. GrayWolfWalk.com. GrayWolfWalk.com. And what we need PR people. Now, there is an individual that's in here, I do believe, that says that they have been part of a PR deal. We're going to need a PR person. I think Hot Coffee has associated or been associated with PR. But we need to get PR working. We need to get fundraising done for a March launch. Excuse me. The 6th of February, I get surgery done on the shoulder, so I may be slinged up by the time March comes around from having the shoulder rebuilt. So, but we need a Brazil. We need a Brazil type action. We need to have people, because we got a lot of stuff to work with. And I'm putting out, I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm on all of these streaming right now. So I have to be careful about the misinformation deal. So we've got a lot of things to be angry about in this country. Election integrity, right up there at the top. The state of emergency, that's been my number one goal, is to end that state of emergency, because they are trampling our constitutional rights with the state of emergency. So as I was saying here a few moments ago, we need a new joint resolution to terminate the state of emergency. Now, that's not it. That's not all of it, I should say. Once it's terminated, we need a way to keep the administration from being able to issue a new one, which is feeding all of his buddies. You know, that we have things that are going on in this country. You shouldn't trust the hospital. I hardly can trust just even going in and getting my shoulder done. Yeah. So that is correct. So the standard majority is 218, but depending on how many are not present, could adjust it to the majority count changing. So 217 is the actual number. 217 is the number. So I will be ready, slinged up or not. I want to be ready to be at the front end of getting the people, getting on the streets and filling the streets west coast to east coast. So, yeah, so we're going to need PR work. We're going to need a fundraising committee, because we need the money to be able to move this show down the road. We need to get the people to understand that the only way that we're going to make any change whatsoever is to be seen, and then to put the pressure on our representatives at the state level as well as the federal level. 10th Amendment is a pretty strong deal here. So we need to have these individuals know who they work for. And we need to tell them, you work for us. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You work for us. So you're going to do X, Y, and Z. That is the will of the people. And the will of the people is under attack. So the only way that we're going to be able to make any changes for the people to be present and accounted for, not through ballots, through visual and vocal means. A non-violent revolution, a peaceful revolution is needed. We must have everyone stand up and let's do what other countries are doing. Let's show them that we are awake. We are engaged. We are educated. I'm going to go check and see if we're up yet. We're not up yet. So Thank you, Marina. It's off the screen. Sorry. Yeah. So we're waiting for round 3 for the day. I'm not too confident about it, to be honest with you. I don't like the fact that Gates and Boebert sat down and didn't put the nomination for Jordan forward. Agent 711 asking if we know what is going on with the Brunson's case on 22-380 over at the Supreme Court. And we don't know that as of yet, and we will not know the answer of that until Monday. They will release their decisions then. Looks like we're getting ready to come back in and do a count. So we'll get back over there, announce the count. Oops, let me get rid of this. Oh, yeah.
No member-elect having received the majority of the votes cast, a speaker has not been elected. For what purpose does the gentleman from Louisiana rise?
Madam Clerk, with great appreciation for the job that you and your staff have been doing.
Steve Scalise.
Madam Clerk, I move that the House stand adjourned until 10 p.m. tonight.
We have a motion to
The
adjourn.
question now occurs on the motion of the gentleman from Louisiana. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. And the opinion.
Okay, we get to see something that we haven't seen a lot in the last 6 years. We get to see a tally board.
I request the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are going to be
Those
put forth.
By the yeas and noes will rise. A sufficient
Electronic
number
vote.
hasn't risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device.
Their vote. And here we go. Split screen it. So they can go and do some more negotiating. Yep, that's a high possibility. Hot coffee. We're going to start throwing around the threats. Unless they got something big they're working on and it involving Trump somehow, I don't know what they could be doing.
To adjourn the House of Representatives until 10 p.m. Eastern
More of
tonight.
vote for me. You
Perhaps a
just got to
portion
vote for me. Trust
taking place
me.
at that
It's hard to
point.
trust
We're
somebody
hearing
that's
congressional
taken
reporters that Kevin McCarthy and his
47%
allies
of their
looking to
votes for the
use
last
the
18
time
months
between now
has
and
gone to
10
the
p.m.
Democrats.
tonight to convince some of the holdouts
47%,
and
almost
perhaps
half
get
of all
some of the
votes
absent members,
McCarthy
the two
gave over the
absent
last 18
Republican
months to
members
Pelosi.
previously voted
But
for Kevin
Pelosi's only
McCarthy
given 7% back to the
Washington,
Republicans.
back to the House floor in the
Doesn't
hopes
seem
of
very
closing out
equitable
speaker's
to
vote
me.
and achieving the votes necessary. Robert Costa of CBS News reporting this via Twitter. One of McCarthy's top allies has told CBS that meetings are being
It's a
planned for the
15-minute
rest
vote.
of the afternoon and evening in private with those remaining holdouts. The hope is to adjourn sooner than later to get those going. We have to close this out, and it's not going to happen on the floor. That's the quote from one of McCarthy's top
He did not get the
allies,
votes.
according to Robert Costa.
Super salty.
Right now, the math has
And I think what you're seeing is a Steve Scalise put a motion on the floor to adjourn.
Republicans who are not on the
And
floor, Buck of Colorado and Wesley Hunt of Texas, if they return to Washington
until 10 p.m.
as,
Eastern
some
tonight.
reporting says they will by tonight.
So it will be a
a
late night.
Then 218 votes.
And I got a feeling that they're going to put McCarthy in tonight if they get even one or two more of the
10 p.m. Eastern tonight. Live coverage
of the strong six.
Images
I had
from
put
House
Roy
floor,
down as
courtesy of
Chip
3C
Roy is
State.
not going to make
Cameras in the
a
chamber
change,
here, live on CBS.
and he did. So we know that we've got Boebert, Gates, and Biggs. Those three we can definitely count on. That's not enough. The Democrats don't want to break. The Republicans do. A lot of that has to do with the Democrats want to try and go out to CNN and MSNBC and say, look, we are on the same page. We've always been on the same page. The Democrats have it together. And we want to get this over with, but the Republicans are divided. They're in chaos. They don't know what they're doing. That's what they're going to be doing. We'll see what happens. Yeah, you gotta love it, Brad. We get to see all the nuances of the paint drying and the grass growing during this whole process. It's when you can get out there and you can actually see the grass grow. You know, you're watching it grow. Wow, it's running kind of close. I wonder if the 6 individuals are saying no to that too. Or oil paint. That could take a while to dry. We have 5 minutes, 53 seconds left on this vote on the motion to adjourn. Ten Republicans haven't voted, 3 Democrats. Well, now we're down to 8 Republicans. So, yeah, it's going to adjourn at 216. Democrats are only going to get 213. So they're going to adjourn till 10 o'clock tonight, Eastern time. So 7 p.m. Pacific time, where I am.
Less than 5 minutes left in this vote on a motion to adjourn. It would be to adjourn the House until 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. In past adjournment votes, there have been
I think I just said that.
Some Republican members who have joined with Democrats voting no on adjournment. That doesn't look to be the case this time. Currently 217 votes for an adjournment, 211 against adjournment, 6 members still not voting. The Kevin McCarthy team looking to secure the final votes needed to secure the speakership in the hours between now and 10 p.m. An expected 14.
So hot coffee, we've got your email.
At 10 p.m.
One of my admins has got it.
Of CNN reporting this via
And
Twitter just a few minutes ago.
we need to start putting together the plan.
Telling CNN that he is confident that
and
he will have the votes to become speaker by tonight.
get people to go over to graywolfwalk.com. We also need funds. We need to have fundraising. We need to have people awareness raising. And we're still putting together the plan for exactly how we're going to do the walk. But we need, more than anything else, we need people. We need lots of people, millions of people. We need to blow this up, share, like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Here, I don't have a date as of yet, but Dr. Paul Alexander, or as we call him, Dr. Lock 'em All Up. And that comes from when he was on stage talking about all of these crooks in D.C. with the NIH and Fauci's group and FDC, the FDA, the CDC. They're all crooks and all need to be locked up. So he got a nickname from screaming that they all have to be locked up. So if you don't know who Dr. Paul Alexander is, check him out. He was actually part of the administration, the Trump administration, and was underneath Fauci in there. He and I are going to be holding a panel sometime in the near future. And we will not put that up on YouTube because YouTube, their sense of humor is not good enough. They like to censor people. So we'll be putting that on a Twitter live feed, a Clout Hub live feed, Rumble live feed, as well as Dr. Alexander's podcast. So look forward to that. Once we get the date locked down, I'll let y'all know. But turn on your notifications, and in Twitter, turn on your video notifications. I wouldn't turn on all. Turn on your video notifications. That way you're not getting bombarded by my retweets or tweets, unless you want to. I'm going to try and get some more folks lined up to talk on video and get the video done. I was over on Lindell TV a few weeks ago. So that's something that you can see what we talked about there on Lindell TV, frankspeech.com. But we're in dire straits as a country, and we need to figure out how to get it out. We got 30 seconds left, and they're definitely going to adjourn. So I'm going to mute that out. So they are going to adjourn until 10 p.m. Eastern tonight, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And like I said, please go to graywolfwalk.com. If you can donate, donations are appreciated. We will be setting up with the help of many people out here. We will be needing volunteers, and we will be looking to get a Brazil started. We need to wake the American people up and start pouring into the streets. So we have got a list of grievances that we have on the target list, and they'll be up on the website soon. But right now, we need to end that state of emergency. That is our top priority, next to putting a good speaker in the House. But we need to start getting our constitutional freedoms back. This is all about freedom, 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 and that's what we need to have. We need to have our freedoms returned, and we need to take it back. They're not going to give our freedoms back. We need to take them back. So until later on this evening, I'll fire this back up later on this evening when the time comes. And again, go to the website, give your support, share this amongst all your social media, turn on those notifications and like it. Let's get those algorithms working for us. I'm over on Facebook. I'm at Gray Wolf Walk. I'm on YouTube at Gray Wolf Ron, as well as Patriot Ron. And I'm on Cloud Hub at Gray Space Wolf. Rumble, Gray Wolf Ron. So all of that can be found in the social media tag of graywolfwalk.com. And as always, Gray with an E. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. And I will see you later on this evening. Peace and love to all of you. And God bless you. And God bless the United States.